So let's break down what some of the micro lesson topics would look like, and we'll use body awareness as the overarching example, and we're going to take a look at this across the developmental stages. So let's start with before the age of 4. So you're going to want to make sure that they are aware of the accurate names of their body parts and also what the functions are. You're wanting to present these things in very normalized and shame-free ways and generally across the activities of care. You also want to plant the seeds of safe and unsafe touch and have them start to develop an understanding of consent through healthy boundaries and respect. This should be accomplished through many little talks that are very simple and direct and that relate to a relevant moment, such as bath time or changing clothes, or when it relates to touch between themselves and another person. Because their cognition level is going to be more limited than as they get older, you're not going to want to go into deep dives or explanations with them. You want to make it very simple and direct. And when your talks are with 5 to 8-year-olds, you're going to go a little bit deeper. You can talk about topics such as tricky people, which is like the new stranger danger. And I'm going to share with you a link. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about tricky people, I have a podcast episode where I talk with an expert who breaks that down for us. You also want to explore hygiene practices. They're going to be transitioning at this point to more independent care, and so you want to make sure they have a clear understanding of how to take care of their bodies. You also want to explore privacy, secrets, and surprises and what those differences are. And I've linked an article that I wrote about that topic for you. And you also want to make sure as you're talking about bodies that you're introducing the diversity of different body types. So if you have a girl identified child, you don't just want to limit your conversations to the body of a girl. That way they develop an understanding and an empathy for all body types. So now let's talk about our preteens, our 9 to 12-year-olds. This is going to be when the puberty discussions are going to be really relevant to them in most cases. And so you want to make sure that you approach these discussions not just specific to their genitals or reproductive organs, but for all, so that they develop an awareness and an understanding and some context, because they are going to relate to some more deeper dives into the context of sex. You're also going to reinforce hygiene and just make sure that they're managing that well independently, or if they have any questions or concerns about the changes that are going on with their bodies. And this is a great time, of course, to talk about pleasure and masturbation. These discussions can come up in earlier ages, but it's good to check in. It's good, again, these are micro lessons. These are things that you want to have as ongoing dialogues, whether they bring up questions or not. You're absolutely going to talk about consent and as it relates to the different relationships that they may be developing in their social lives or in family relationships, and media literacy. Media literacy as it relates to gender messaging, as it relates to body image, body positivity. These are going to be things that are really going to resonate with this age group. And lastly, we have our teens and emerging adults. So you're going to have deeper dives of all of the different topics that we've already talked about. And if you have been able to plant the seeds and lay the foundation with early and ongoing discussions, then at this point, these aren't going to be awkward or uncomfortable. These are going to be things that are going to prepare your emerging adult for a healthy sex life. Often with our teens, they're exploring and navigating relationships and intimacy with others potentially. And so you want to stay engaged, you want to stay curious, you want to stay connected to their world, and be sure to ask them questions and do it in a shame-free, taboo, and non-judgmental way, so that you remain that safe space for them to understand their place in the world around them. So these are some tangible examples of how you can have one broad topic, in this case body awareness, and it can translate into micro lessons over the course of a child's development. Remember, the key takeaway here is it's not just one talk.